galvanized. Come together. If I lost every limb in this war I'm in, would you round them up and piece me back together again? Say a prayer over me as my soul ascends. Ask God to forgive me for my sins. Sorta like a siren that said, the rule back in Egypt, would I return as a mythical?
Good afternoon, Delmarva. It's the start of another wonderful hour. I'm joined in studio by some very special guests, my friend and colleague, Dr. Jahi Issa, and with him we have the Irritated Genie. You might remember this man from the Breitbart was the first one to report it. Southern Poverty Law Center accused him of running a hate site. He is a senior manager at the Department of Homeland Security, and he's here in studio with us today. We know him as the Irritated Genie. Irritated Genie, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Doing great. And Dr. Issa, I want to thank you for also coming into the studio with us today. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got to meet the Irritated Genie?
Yeah, no problem. I'm just happy that he was able to come on your show first. I want the listening audience to know that he refused to come on CNN and Fox News, and because I had a relationship with him. He said that he would come on your show if I came in as a co-host for the day, a guest co-host. So I'm excited, because I think it's important that people like him get his voice out and that he tell his side of the story the way that he wants to. That's what the First Amendment is all about, free speech. But it seems as though nowadays, or at least for black people, it's always been that issue whether or not we're really citizens or not. Dred Scott, some of you have ever heard of Dred Scott, who was an African who was born enslaved in 1857. The Supreme Court said that no African in this country could ever be a citizen, and so I think it's important. For those who say or profess to believe in the Constitution, that we allow people like the Irritated Genie to have their word. They have a right to express themselves the way that they want to express it. I met Irritated briefly while I was doing my PhD at Howard University in D.C. They would do community lectures, and I went into one of the lectures, one or two, I think, and I met him briefly. But someone put me in contact with him last year after I was fired and beat up by the police at Delaware State University, arrested, put in jail, and then when I found out that my former barber was hanging from a tree at Silver Lake Park in Dover, Delaware, in which this is an issue that people don't want to talk about in this state or anywhere around the country.
Yeah.
And I was someone told me that we were looking for a media outlet. We went to the Southern Poverty.
We went everywhere.
Everywhere. Fox, CNN. No one wanted to do this story. So I contacted the Irritated Genie. He did a little investigation. He was kind of skeptical about it. But when he came down, he talked to people. He said, let's roll. He brought his film crew. And that's how we met, and we've been talking ever since then.
And I met Irritated Genie that same day back in October because I did an interview in front of the Dover Library. But Irritated Genie, you were the only media outlet that was willing to tackle this story at all. And you did this fearlessly, pretty much. You knew the risks.
Generally speaking, it's going to be up to black people. We've faced assault since we've been in this country. And the reality of it is, if we expect anybody other than other black people to step in the gap and save us when we are in situations like Dr. Issa, where he's walking alone by himself, people begin getting lynched, the people that we should be looking out to support us are our own people. So I would be a hypocrite to say that I'm here for the interests of African people. Then my brother calls me and tells me that people are being lynched in Delaware.
Right.
And then I don't come and bring all the resources that we have to try to investigate and try to bring an end to it.
But you understand how many people that claim to be leaders of not only civil rights in general, but of the black community specifically, were made aware of this story. I talked to Danny Glover's personal assistant. My dad worked with him once, and Dr. Issa knows somebody that has a connection to him. Some high-profile people turned away, but you felt like you really had to stand your ground and do this.
And I'll just say this as a general statement. As a general statement, what most whites would see as quote-unquote black leaders are what we call guard dogs. They're simply, we call the Zionist infrastructure, we call them small hats. The white so-called Jews that run this society, we call them small hats. They control what most people consider black leadership. So I'm just saying, just in general, when we say this high-profile black people, these are not black people. These are just walking, crawling dogs for the interests of Zionism in this society and worldwide. So real black leaders do not turn away when they see people in their community that are suffering that they can help.
Well, this is what we saw, Dr. Issa, when we had our march on Dover on January 15th. Most of the people in this area, except for a few brothers in the Nation of Islam, were too afraid to participate. And people came from all over. But these are real activists like Brother Bay in Baltimore. He might be joining us a little bit later by telephone. Alton Maddox came down. Tony Riddick, the real fighters, stepped up. But these people don't get much publicity until the Southern Law Center Poverty. I've lost my train of thought, Doctor. What, the Southern Poverty Law Center, is that what we call it?
Yeah, I think that's what it's
They've got some kind of fancy big city sounding name. But until somebody like that bashes you, now, I've lived in D.C., I've been around Howard. I used to guard the industrial bank right up the street. I'm pretty familiar with the Nation of Islam. They send people to other contract companies to try and raid your contract. And I read your website before we did the interview, and I didn't find anything really too out of line from my experience with certain forms of nationalism. Why do you think this is coming up at this time?
It's coming up because, quite frankly, and I can't be too specific, but for the audience to just get a general idea of what's happening, as a job, I work a job, a non-law enforcement job. I'm actually not a manager. That wasn't accurate, what they've been saying in the media. But essentially, I work for a Zionist homosexual institution that's extremely corrupt. And in my position and capacity as an employee, I'm not a person that will tolerate corruption. And in my outside work, which the institution that I work for, the organization, is fully aware of the things that I've been doing because I exercise my First Amendment right to the Constitution. We talk about the dangers of homosexuality, particularly as it relates to the black community, and our fact that we're not going to tolerate it and we're going to rid our community of homosexuality. And, of course, we talk about this insidious Zionism that is what is promoting this homosexuality, what is promoting the destruction of families, which is promoting warfare all across the world. And because we do that, and because as a side issue, if somebody's stealing money and you're doing it in front of my face and I have a job that says you're not supposed to do that, everybody else is going to back down. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to win because you're not going to steal money in front of my face because I just don't like corruption. So I'm fighting a corrupt system, again, a homosexual Zionist system, where at each area in that institution, there's some small hat that's either stealing or doing something corrupt, and I'm not allowing it to occur and go by. And in order to continue the corruption that's going on, now what they have done is they've, against their own policy, gone to the media and said, look at what this guy is doing outside.
Yeah.
Which the basic object is this. I'm no friend to the European, and that's not a secret. But the reality of it is that I haven't been a friend to the European the entire time I'm doing this. But what they want is very similar in the Zimmerman case. You have a Sephardic so-called Jew, small hat. He goes out and kills a young boy. But the reality of it is when you kill our children, we're going to start killing your children. But they don't want their Sephardic Jewish children getting killed. So they make it a white issue. You never hear about a Jew killing a young black boy. It's a white. So now the masses of whites rally behind Zimmerman as a white Anglo-Saxon, which he's not, and then they support it, which thus makes black people angry with the white masses for supporting the murder of this young boy, when in fact, if you really take a close look at it, it wasn't a white Anglo-Saxon that killed a young man. It was a Jew, but you never hear that part. They'll call him Spanish, they'll call him white, and they'll galvanize different groups to fight one another, never pointing out the fact that this is what they were doing. Very similar to what I do in my job capacity. There are a lot of individuals that look like me that are attacking me now. But what are they? Again, they're the crawling dogs for the Zionists. So they put them in these positions to protect the corruption and the theft that's going on in the federal government. And then somebody like me says, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to tolerate it. Stop the theft. There are other people, they're American citizens out here who have businesses. And they want to come in here and they want to compete fairly. And you're stealing and not letting them compete fairly. You're not going to do it in front of me.
Right.
So when I jump in there to stop it, then they send their guard dogs out.
Southern Morris D's.
And people go out there and they contact again. One Zionist calls the next one, and then they say, okay, let's get a system. He's not a corrupt guy, so we can't do anything about the job. He does the job better than anybody else does it. He gets paid less and does more than anybody else there. What can we do to get rid of him? We can't do anything based on the job performance, so you know what we'll do? We'll just put false things out in the media, which we can control, and then we'll use the media to try to destroy the man.
Well, now some of the falsehoods have been just really off the charts because I just repeated that you were a manager. That's been all over the place. You confirmed that's false. Huffington Post had a video from an ABC affiliate, 33. I don't know where they are. I'm sure your legal team will find out. Because they said that you were selling handguns, handcuffs, and ammunition on your War of the Horizon website. Now, I didn't even have to check to know that isn't true.
Well, just to be, again, I can't get into the specifics, but I'll say this. In my job capacity, I don't purchase anything.
Right.
Essentially, without getting specific into what I do is I protect the small guy. If you're a small guy and you want a fair shot to get a fair opportunity to compete for business with the government, I'm the person that protects you. I'm the person when the big guys are trying to eat you up and keep you out of that opportunity to do it. I'm the one that says, I don't care who you are. I don't care how many lawyers you got. I have authority to tell you to go you know where, and I'm going to let the small companies come in here and have a fair shot, and I don't care who says you can't. That's me.
And that to me, there is no way you were in that position with that website and the government didn't know exactly what you were doing. Well, it's impossible.
The thing that people should think of, and of course it's not anything that was comforting to me, but quite frankly, the organization I work for, the job is to watch people.
Right.
So if you got somebody that you are concerned about, would you rather them be out there with full access to do whatever they want to do out of your site? Would you rather them be right there where you are so you can really watch them?
Yeah.
So it wasn't an issue in that sense. They were doing what they were supposed to be doing. But the reality of it is, it's all about corruption.
Right.
We're talking about an extremely, exceptionally corrupt system that really works like this. I mean, it's the bottom line. If you're not a Zionist or you're not a homosexual or you're not complicit with this type of death style and this type of misbehavior, particularly if you're black, but to be quite honest, I've seen the corruption, even if this is the first time in my life in America, and again, I'm no friend of Europeans, but I'm just being realistic. It's the first time that I've ever seen white males treated similar to black people, because even though I don't have any love for Europeans, I will say this. There are white males who believe in the American system, and they're not corrupt in the sense they may be racist, but they're not going to go in there and steal anybody's money, because to them, this is their system, and if they steal money, they're stealing from themselves. So what happens in this particular instance, if you're working in this type of government environment, is that even a white male, if they're not corrupt and they're not complicit with the homosexual/Zionist agenda of generally corrupt behavior, then even they get glass ceiling and get run out of the organization. So it was a very phenomenal set of events for me to watch. Black women in particular, primary targets, black men, actually white females, and white males, actually. Again, I'm not saying that I'm looking out for the interests, but the reality of it is I've never seen that kind of environment, and it's teaching me what happens when you have an out-of-control system. Again, we're talking the small hats, the Zionists, and the homosexuals, which are really like one family. The corruption and the exploitation that they involve themselves in is so substantial that even if you are white, I mean, I'm watching from the outside, even someone that's white has a difficult time trying to do something about it, because every place they go to report, there's a Zionist in a small hat controlling that particular institute. So whoever you go to report here, there's a Zionist that'll block it and defend the Zionist. Then you go there to report them, and there's a Zionist that reports it. So essentially, everybody's voice is muffled. So you go to the media, and who determines whether or not your voice can be heard? Again, it's a Zionist.
Yeah, and that seems to be the way it exactly was working for Dr. Issa and I. We go to one place that they're covered. We go to another place they're covered. I'd like to get into that a little bit more and get your reaction to some of that, and also hear more of your thoughts. Right now, everybody's moving, everybody's grooving here. I don't really know what native black nationalism looks like in Dover, because we haven't seen a whole lot of it. Extemporaneous examples.
Yeah, because they're hanging from trees.
Yeah, I mean, that's what black nationalism looks like here in Dover. Suicide, this is a shame. So, Irritated Genie, this deflection, we've seen it here at the local level and issues we're trying to raise. Oh, no, the fact that people end up hanging from trees and we have no reasonable explanation, or the fact that people get assaulted and we don't even look for the people doing the assault, isn't the problem. It's Dr. Issa and that crazy Doug Beatty and that War on the Horizon website. You're seeing the same kind of deflection in your situation now, basically, is what you're